If you're over 60, you've probably noticed a shift in your nights. You fall asleep, but the sleep doesn't hold. And for a surprising number of older adults, the problem doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts with the vegetables on the dinner table. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, a physician specializing in sleep and aging physiology for more than 25 years. And what I'm about to show you surprises most seniors I work with. As digestion slows with age and the nervous system becomes more reactive in the evening, certain vegetables can trigger the exact signals that break sleep. Gas pressure, glucose instability, reflux stimulation, and late-night sympathetic activation. All of them feel unrelated until they snap you awake at 1, 2, or 3 a.m. A 2022 Harvard analysis found that over 60% of adults above 60 with persistent nighttime awakenings showed clear links to evening gastrointestinal irritation, meaning the wrong vegetable at dinner can destabilize sleep in ways most people never suspect. Here's the part older adults never expect. Some vegetables considered clean, light, or healthy during the day become some of the worst sleep disruptors at night. And the vegetable ranked number one is one many seniors proudly eat every evening, believing it helps digestion, when in reality it may be quietly breaking their sleep for years. Before we continue, tap like, share, and comment ready so you don't lose this information, especially when we reach number one. Now let's begin with number four. Number four, corn. Corn is perfectly fine during the day, but after 6 p.m., it becomes one of the most sleep-disrupting vegetables an older adult can eat. The problem begins with how corn behaves metabolically. Corn is a rapid breakdown starch, and as we age, the enzymes that control starch absorption become less steady. That means corn moves through the system quickly, creating a sharp glucose rise shortly after dinner. And what goes up quickly has to come down. For adults over 60, that drop tends to happen right in the middle of the first sleep cycle. When glucose falls, the body releases cortisol and adrenaline to stabilize it. These hormones do exactly what you don't want at night. They raise heart activity, increase alertness, and pull the nervous system out of its early parasympathetic state, breaking the continuity of sleep. There's another layer most people overlook: warmth. Corn is thermogenic. It subtly raises core temperature, and for seniors whose nighttime cooling is already weaker, that extra heat keeps the nervous system slightly activated. Deep sleep requires the core to drop. Corn slows that drop down. The result? A predictable pattern: asleep easily, awake too early, unable to settle back in. I once worked with a retired mechanic named Harold, 74 years old, who couldn't understand why he woke up restless at nearly the exact same time every night. He didn't drink caffeine, he didn't snack late, and he avoided alcohol. But 3 nights a week, he ate corn with dinner: creamed corn, corn on the cob, or corn chowder. When he moved every corn-containing meal to lunchtime, the 1 to 3 a.m. awakening stopped within the week. Nothing else changed. Corn isn't bad, it's simply a poor match for an aging nighttime metabolism. Enjoy it earlier in the day, when your body can process the starch without destabilizing your sleep rhythm. Number 3, bell peppers. Bell peppers look harmless, colorful, crisp, full of vitamin C, and during the day they usually are. But after 60, eaten at dinner, they become one of the most common vegetable triggers I see for broken sleep. The first problem is their skin. Bell pepper skins are thick and resistant to digestion, especially in an aging gut where motility has slowed. Those undigested fragments sit in the stomach and upper intestines for hours, creating pressure and delayed emptying. The moment you lie down, that pressure pushes upward. That's where the second problem starts: silent reflux. You may not feel burning in your chest, but even a small backflow of acid or gas toward the esophagus can stimulate the vagus nerve, the same nerve that communicates with the heart and brainstem. In older adults, that stimulation is enough to cause micro-awakenings or full arousals, often around the first or second sleep cycle. There's also the issue of stimulation, not sedation. Bell peppers are naturally high in vitamin C and certain bioactive compounds that are energizing earlier in the day. At night, when the nervous system should be shifting into parasympathetic mode, that mild stimulation pulls in the opposite direction. It won't feel like drinking coffee, but it's one more nudge away from deep sleep. Ruth, a 69-year-old patient, noticed she slept worse on nights she had stuffed peppers or fajitas for dinner. She assumed it was the seasoning. It wasn't. When she removed bell peppers from evening meals, but changed nothing else, her random 2 a.m. awakenings dropped sharply within a week. For adults over 60, bell peppers are a classic daytime vegetable, nighttime disruptor. If you enjoy them, keep them at lunch. After 6 or 7 p.m., especially in large portions or undercooked, they're far more likely to feed reflux, gas pressure, and silent nervous system activation than to support the calm, cool state your brain needs to stay asleep. Number 2, cauliflower. Cauliflower has a clean reputation. Light, low-calorie, often recommended for digestion. But for adults over 60, especially when eaten at dinner, it becomes one of the most reliable triggers of broken sleep. The core issue is fermentation timing. Cauliflower contains raffinose, a carbohydrate many older digestive systems can't break down efficiently. In younger adults, excess raffinose may cause mild bloating, but after 60, when gut motility slows and enzyme activity declines, that raffinose moves almost unchanged into the colon, where it ferments fast. Fermentation isn't just a gas problem. It creates pressure, distension, and temperature rise inside the abdomen. Those changes stimulate the gut-brain reflex loop, sending alert signals through the vagus nerve and sympathetic system. In the daytime, this is harmless. At night, it's a direct threat to sleep continuity, and it always hits late. Cauliflower eaten at 6:30 or 7 p.m. doesn't cause trouble immediately. The problem arrives hours later. Around midnight, the fermentation peak begins. That's when older adults experience a sudden shift in core temperature, a tightening under the ribs, a vague pressure sensation, or a spike in alertness without any clear reason. These signals don't feel dramatic. They feel mild. But mild is all it takes to pull an aging nervous system out of its deeper phases of sleep. One of my patients, Evelyn, 71, woke almost every night between 1 and 3 a.m. She assumed anxiety was the cause. She had no reflux, avoided caffeine, and kept an early bedtime. But 3 or 4 evenings a week, she ate roasted cauliflower as her main vegetable. When she shifted it to lunch instead of dinner, her nighttime awakenings decreased sharply in less than a week. She hadn't needed medication. She hadn't changed lifestyle. She simply stopped giving her digestive system a nighttime workload it could no longer handle. Cauliflower isn't unhealthy. It's simply poorly timed. For adults over 60, it belongs at lunch, not dinner. After 6 p.m., it consistently produces the kind of digestive activation that destabilizes sleep, fragments early cycles, and increases the chance of waking in the middle of the night. Number 1, raw salad greens. Raw salad greens, romaine, spring mix, baby greens, are the vegetable most older adults trust. Light, clean, good for digestion, but after 60, eaten at night, they're one of the strongest sleep disruptors I see in clinical practice. The reason is a combination of temperature, volume, and timing. 3 things an aging digestive system handles very differently from a younger one. First, the temperature shock. Raw greens are cold, often straight from the fridge. When that cold load hits the stomach in the evening, the very time the body is trying to warm the core and transition into parasympathetic rest, it sends a contradictory signal. The gut tenses. The sympathetic system flickers on. Core temperature drops too much, then rebounds, creating instability that makes early sleep fragile. Second, raw greens are fibrous and water-heavy, which means they require far more digestive effort than their airy appearance suggests. You don't feel full, but your gut is working. And after 60, when digestion slows dramatically at night, that work continues deep into the first half of sleep. The result? A churn-cool rebound cycle that's notorious for causing waking around 1 to 3 a.m. Third, raw salads often create silent GI stimulation, not pain. Most older adults don't feel discomfort. They feel a faint internal restlessness, a slight pressure, a sense that the body won't settle. That sensation alone is enough to pull the brain into lighter sleep stages. A 73-year-old woman named Marjorie came to me convinced something was wrong with her hormones. She woke almost every night between 2 and 3 a.m., wide awake, but with no pain, no reflux, no anxiety. Her only consistent habit? A large bowl of romaine salad at 7 p.m., something she believed was helping her digestion. When she moved that salad to lunchtime and switched dinner vegetables to cooked options, her sleep stabilized in 4 nights. No supplements, no medication, just timing. Raw salad greens are excellent for daytime health, but nighttime is the worst place to use them. After 60, they trigger cold gut activation, late digestive work, and nervous system flicker, a combination that reliably breaks sleep. We've covered the vegetables most likely to break your sleep, not because they're unhealthy, but because they collide with how the aging body works at night. Now let's shift to the vegetables that do the opposite, the ones that calm digestion, steady nighttime energy, and support the chemistry your sleep depends on. Number 4, zucchini. Zucchini is one of the easiest vegetables for the aging digestive system to handle, and that's exactly why it earns a place on the best list for sleep. Unlike raw greens or fermenting cruciferous vegetables, zucchini contains soft, low-fermentation fiber. It digests smoothly without producing the pressure, gas, or temperature fluctuations that often disrupt the early part of the night for older adults. For a body that slows down digestive motility after sunset, this quiet digestion is a major advantage. Another benefit: zucchini is naturally low acid and low residue, meaning it leaves very little behind for the gut to process hours later. That helps prevent the midnight GI activation that can send alert signals up the vagus nerve. One of the most common triggers for waking between 1 and 3 a.m., zucchini also keeps the core temperature stable. Older adults often struggle with nighttime cooling, which is essential for deep sleep. Heavy, fibrous vegetables raise heat. Zucchini does not. Its water-rich structure absorbs warmth rather than generating it, supporting the core temperature drop the brain needs to move into restorative stages. I think of a man named Leonard, 68, who kept waking at 2 a.m. with a vague sense of internal restlessness. He assumed it was age, but when we reviewed his meals, nearly every dinner involved heavy vegetables, cabbage, broccoli, or raw salads. He replaced half of those dinners with cooked zucchini for 2 weeks. His nighttime awakenings decreased from 5 or 6 per week to 1. No supplements, no medication, just a lighter vegetable that matched his nighttime physiology. Zucchini isn't dramatic. It's not a superfood. It's simply a vegetable that stays quiet inside the body at the exact time older adults need quiet the most. Number 3, carrots. Carrots earn their place on this list because they support one of the most overlooked steps in nighttime physiology: the neural downshift that should happen in the first hour after you fall asleep. The advantage begins with how the aging digestive system handles them. Carrots, when softened through cooking, provide steady, low-residue fiber, the kind that moves through the stomach without producing gas, pressure, or fermentation. For adults over 60, whose gut motility slows significantly in the evening, this matters. A vegetable that digests quietly keeps the vagus nerve calm, and when the vagus nerve stays calm, the brain is far less likely to slip into light, fragile sleep. Carrots also contain beta-carotene, which plays a subtle but important role in neural stability. It doesn't make you sleepy, and it doesn't act like a sedative. Instead, it reduces low-level oxidative stress that can heighten nighttime alertness, the type that makes the mind feel a little too on, even when you're tired. But the real benefit for older adults is predictability. Many vegetables create unpredictable reactions late at night: spikes in temperature, fermentation bursts, reflux triggers, or minor discomfort that feels unrelated. Carrots don't do that. They digest in a slow, even rhythm that supports the body's attempt to transition into deeper stages of rest. A woman named Linda, 67, struggled with sleep fragmentation for years. She didn't eat heavy foods. She avoided caffeine, but most nights she had a plate of raw vegetables at dinner, believing they were lighter. She switched half her dinners to a simple serving of softened carrots. Nothing else changed. And within a week, her early night wake-ups dropped dramatically. Carrots aren't a sleep aid. They're a low-friction vegetable, one that works with, not against, the slowing digestive and neural systems of an aging body. Number 2, sweet potatoes. The evening hours are when the aging body is most vulnerable to glucose instability, one of the quietest but strongest disruptors of sleep after 60. This is where sweet potatoes make a meaningful difference. They provide slow-release carbohydrates, the kind that deliver a steady fuel curve instead of the spike and crash pattern created by many other starchy vegetables. For older adults, this steadiness is not optional. A stable glucose line means the body doesn't trigger cortisol at 1 to 3 a.m., the exact window when early night sleep often falls apart. There's another benefit hidden in sweet potatoes: vitamin B6. B6 supports the production of serotonin, which is the biochemical foundation your brain uses to form melatonin later in the night. It's not a sedative, it's a signal, one the aging nervous system often lacks. What makes this vegetable especially valuable is its predictability. It digests smoothly, doesn't ferment aggressively, and doesn't trigger the abdominal pressure swings that activate the gut nerve loop. For many of my older patients, that alone is enough to reduce nighttime awakenings. Take Raymond, 72. He didn't struggle to fall asleep. His problem was staying asleep past the first 2 or 3 hours. He woke with a mild heart flutter, sometimes hungry, sometimes hot, always alert. His dinners were light, but they lacked any slow, steady source of fuel. When he added a modest serving of sweet potato to his early evening meals 3 or 4 times a week, the pattern changed. Instead of waking at 2:15 a.m. almost every night, he began sleeping through until 5 or later. Nothing drastic, just a simple correction to nighttime energy stability. Sweet potatoes don't force sleep. They protect it by giving the older body the slow, sustained energy it needs to keep cortisol quiet and melatonin on schedule. Number 1, spinach. Few vegetables support the aging nervous system as directly or as reliably as spinach. What sets it apart is its combination of magnesium and folate, two nutrients that control the transition from light, fragile sleep into deeper, more stable stages. Magnesium acts first. After 60, magnesium intake and absorption both decline, leaving the nervous system more reactive in the evening. Spinach helps correct that. The magnesium in a modest serving supports the GABA pathway, the very system responsible for quieting nerve firing and reducing nighttime hyperreactivity. It doesn't sedate, it stabilizes, which is far more important for staying asleep. Folate adds the second layer. Folate helps regulate mood signaling, the subtle emotional tension that lingers even when you're tired. It also supports the serotonin-melatonin pathway, strengthening the body's ability to build its own nighttime rhythm instead of relying on external sleep aids. Steaming spinach matters. Raw spinach is harder to break down late in the day, but when steamed lightly, its fiber softens and becomes low-friction fuel, easy on the stomach, non-fermenting, and quiet inside the gut. For older adults, this prevents the late-night digestive activity that activates the vagus nerve and pulls the brain out of deeper stages. One of my patients, Eleanor, 70, struggled with fragmented sleep for years. She avoided heavy dinners, avoided caffeine, avoided alcohol, yet she still woke 2 or 3 times a night. When we added a small serving of steamed spinach to her early evening meal 4 nights a week, her sleep transformed. Her awakenings dropped, her sleep depth improved, and she began waking with a clearer head and steadier energy. Nothing exotic, nothing restrictive, just the right vegetable at the right time. Spinach earns the #1 spot because it supports all 3 pillars older adults struggle with most: nervous system calm, emotional steadiness, and the biochemical pathway that leads into true deep sleep. Most older adults sleep best when their evening routine removes stimulation from the gut, stabilizes nighttime glucose, and signals the nervous system to slow down on schedule. This plan does exactly that. Simple, predictable, and built around how the body changes after 60. 1. Keep dinner between 5:30 and 6:30 p.m. Later meals force the digestive system to work during the hours when your core temperature should be dropping. For seniors, this is one of the quickest ways to trigger 1 to 3 a.m. awakenings. 2. Use one best vegetable each evening, not all four. Rotate steamed spinach, warm carrots, zucchini, and sweet potatoes. Spinach supports GABA and serotonin through magnesium and folate. Carrots calm the gut with soft fiber. Zucchini avoids fermentation and helps maintain sleep continuity. Sweet potatoes offer slow-release carbohydrates to keep glucose stable through the first half of the night. 3. Avoid the four worst vegetables for at least 4 to 6 hours before bed. Corn, bell peppers, cauliflower, and raw salad greens activate stimulation in different ways. Fermentation, reflux triggers, glucose swings, or the cold gut sympathetic response. In adults over 60, these signals often reach the brain before the conscious mind notices them. 4. Stop all raw vegetables after 6 p.m. Even healthy raw produce increases GI workload. A reactive gut sends upward signals to the brainstem that can break sleep long before you feel discomfort. 5. Follow the rotation for 7 consecutive nights. Most seniors feel improvement by night 3, but the full stabilization of sleep continuity appears between nights 5 and 7 as inflammation decreases and glucose becomes more predictable. Consistent evening signals, not drastic changes, rebuild the internal quiet your sleep depends on. If there's one thing I want every older adult to understand, it's this. Your sleep isn't failing, it's reacting. Reacting to evening signals, to foods that push the gut at the wrong time, to glucose that falls too quickly, to small neural triggers that didn't matter when you were younger, but matter now. And the vegetables you choose at dinner can either calm those signals or ignite them. Switching from the 4 worst to the 4 best isn't a diet change. It's a physiology reset, a way to quiet the gut, steady the night, and give the nervous system the chance to settle into the deep, continuous sleep it's still capable of. Try just one of the best vegetables tonight, not all 4. 1. Give your body a clean signal and watch how differently the night behaves. And now I want to hear from you. How often do you eat the vegetable that ranked number 1 on the worst list? Tell me in the comments. Your answers help me choose what to break down next. If this helped you, don't leave without hitting like, share, and subscribe. You'd be surprised how many seniors lose sleep every night because of the exact vegetables we covered today, and how quickly things change when they know the truth. Your nights can improve, and they can improve faster than you think.